to read good books and people who are good presenters. This is in a simple language. Bookery is all about. Yes, this is our team. Faisal Ibrahim and Anil Thomas both are here. Because of these two people, we are all here. We are so grateful to these two people because this was their a concept or an idea that came to a physical form now. Now we are all meeting every week on Fridays and Saturdays because of them. So Faisal, congratulations once again, and Anil sir, once again, congratulations. Yes, it's been coordinated between Santosh Sarita and Sayed Harris and Renira Jayashree and Venisha and Vamsi. This is our team, which brings a lot of excitement, cheerfulness, and a lot of energy on every week. These are our speakers for the past sessions. Yes, we have started on 30th June, Saturday, with our in-house speakers, Vamsi, Reddy, and Sarida Riaz. And after that, we added in many more speakers. Yes, these were our recent chapters, chapter number 11 and chapter number 12. Every chapters were unforgettable, and we brought plenty of books over here which are so profound books. Yes, this is for the day. We got a two speakers as usual. We got a two books of their choice. This is the agenda of today, and we have Niaz, myself here. I'm hosting the event, and after that we have a two speakers as normal. Then yes, so guys, as usual, we are going to get into a brief talk during the hosting. Today is a very special day, September 5th. Once Kabir Das said, if I meet my teacher and God together, I would bow my teacher first, and after that my God, because God has been introduced to me by my teacher. There is a Sanskrit phrase, Mada, Pida, Guru, Devam. Mother, father, teacher, and then divine. But these days, the young next generation kids, they say that Mada, Pida, Google, Devam. Yes, I understand completely that Google can give you a lot of facts and figures and knowledge and information. However, a Google cannot ignite the passion that you have for acquiring the knowledge. Google cannot make you hungry or thirsty to gain knowledge. A guru can do that. Let me share a life incident of mine which inspired me a lot in my life. During my school days, once I bunked the class and went for a movie. And the next day, I was caught red-handed. And I've been called to the principal office. I thought I wanted to go there with my parents, but they were very specific. Only I wanted to go there. I went to my principal room, and he was there. The moment he saw me, he asked me to come inside. He had a cup of tea on his table, a full cup of tea. He asked me to come, and he took an empty cup, poured half of it into it, and he gave to me, asked me to have it. While I was having it, he asked me, Nias, how was the movie? I did not say anything. Then he asked me again, did you enjoy the movie? I said, yes. Then he continued saying that, I do not have any problem that you went for a movie. But my concern is, I would have been much happier if you could come and ask me what you truly wanted. Because you didn't like the class, you were bored with the class, you wanted to go. I would be much more happier if you could come and ask me that. But you acted like a sheep over there. Nias, what these teachers teach you, you may forget half of it the moment you get out of this campus for the day. Another half you would forget the moment the year is closed. But the life skills that you practice inside this classroom, that will stay with you forever. Down the line, next 10 years, if I'm existing in this world, I love to remember you as someone who had a courage to come and ask me what you wanted. So be very confident. Don't be a child or kid every time. Be a man in making. Ladies and gentlemen, this short conversation had immense influence in my life. Even today, I call my same teacher and I wished him International Teachers Day, Happy Teachers Day. So Teachers are very important and they had a very profound role in our life. Think of any of your teacher that had an influence in your life and take a moment and think of it, how that influence came. Is it because of the subject that taught? No. Is it because the kind of a knowledge that they possessed? I don't really think so. Is it because they were looking very charming? Not at all. Up the line, somewhere they truly touch our heart in one or another way. That's the reason why they became the best of every teachers of us. Let me bring you another more short story, a very short story. After that, I'll move on to introducing our speakers for the day. There was a guru and two disciples of him. The second disciple always had a feeling in his mind that Guru was fond of the first disciple. One day he gathered the courage and he asked the Guru that, Guru, why it is so? Guru did not give him an answer. Rather, Guru told him that, or Guru gave him an assignment that you go to the next village and teach the villagers what I taught you. He went to the next village and he tried to find his disciples or students over there. He approached someone he saw on the road, a sculptor. Sculptor told him that, I do not have a time to learn a new thing. And he went to another guy who was making pots, a pottery making person. He said, like, I don't have a time to learn new things. And he went to a carpenter. He also said the same thing. Guru gave him 1 month time to teach the villagers. However, he came back in 1 week time. He said the same thing to Guru that nobody wanted to learn anything new. Then he sent the first disciple. The first disciple went and came back after a month. So Guru and the second disciple became very curious, asked him, what did you do in 1 month? What did you teach them? He said, I could not teach them anything because they were not willing to do that. Then what did you do in 1 month? He said, I went to the sculpture and he didn't want to learn. However, I became very interested in what he was doing over there. I asked him, could you teach me this sculpting? And he was more than happy to do that one. I learned out of him that. I went to the pottery making person and he taught me something in pottery making. And I went to a carpenter as well and he taught me something in a carpentry. Now, when I came back over here, if I have some individual requirements of mine, I don't want any second person to help me. I can do it myself. Guru said, great, you can go now. And he called the second disciple and said, look at him. This is a sign of a good teacher. A teacher is not a machine who teach. A teacher is someone who learns and teach. So ladies and gentlemen, I really request you guys to learn something new every day. It is not only for the teacher, for everyone. Learn something new every day from your surrounding. There is immense to learn in our surroundings. With this, I would like to move on to our speakers. Before that, I would like to call upon Anil Thomas to introduce our speakers for the day.
Thank you, Niaz. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have two great speakers joining from two different continents, two different time zones, only to spread knowledge across the globe. Syed Nizam Hari is joining us from God's own country, Kerala. He has finished graduation in journalism, psychology, and English literature from Christ University, Bangalore, one of the prestigious education hub in India. He's a freelancer and still a student in communication. He was teaching English in Vietnam and working closely with the book bakers. His debut book of short stories with the theme of absurdism is to be released anytime from now. Syed Nizam will be reviewing Frankenstein, authored by Mary Shelley. Those who don't know Mary Shelley was an English novelist who wrote the Gothic novel Frankenstein. The Gothic literary originated in England in the second half of the 18th century, where the genre had much success in the 19th century, as witnessed in prose by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Welcome on board, Syed Nizam Harris. For the next 20 minutes, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Okay, so thank you. Okay, so even before starting, I'm Nizam, and as Anil introduced, I'm a literature student, and I've been closely watching your shows for a while now, and I must say all the books are really positive. Okay, all the books that you're presenting here, it's about growth and it's really positive. They have a positive note, And hence I decided, like, when you gave me a chance to present, okay, I should go for something extremely opposite, and hence Frankenstein. Frankenstein is exactly opposite to whatever you are presenting in here. It's scary, it's negative, it's dark, it's broody, it's haunting. But I'm not just limiting to the book. I'm telling a backstory on how they came to write it, then uh, the story of the book, and then my own interpretation of it. Like, Frankenstein book has many interpretations, and it's debatable. People are still forming interpretations on it. So I came with my own story of it. Okay, and I guess I'll start. I'll share my screen. Yeah. Okay, one second. Okay, so Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus. Let's just start with slide one. Okay, so Frankenstein was written in 1818 by Mary Shelley, and this was the age of romanticism in English literature. For those who don't know English literature, there are many time frames in English literature, starting with the medieval era, the Enlightenment era or Renaissance, then Victorian, Romanticism, Modernism, and Postmodernism. So, out of all these time frames, I personally believe Romanticism is the most important, because Romanticism was all about breaking from bondages, breaking from all shackles of a society, and then coming to tell your own story. You can say whatever you want. So other famous writers of his time frame was Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, and it goes on. Percy Shelley is Mary Shelley's husband. It's a whole different story. So yeah, and Romanticism, it was about expressing the inner urges of the artist. In a way, the artist connected himself with the nature around him, the world around him, and it was about his feelings, whatever he was feeling. So till then, literature had certain bondages. It was limited in a way. But Romanticism made literature about the I in me. And when it becomes the to the I, when it is connected to the I, it becomes limitless. And the founding father of Romanticism, in a way, is Rousseau. He was a part of French Revolution, and there is a really famous quote by him: "I feel, therefore I am." I'm quoting Rousseau in many parts in here because Rousseau is really important to the whole setting. So that's about Romanticism, just to have an idea, okay? So the story behind Frankenstein. If you don't know, Frankenstein is one of the most horrific, tragic, one of the most scary stories that has ever written in English literature. And to start with, it was written by a 18-year-old girl, Mary Shelley. The story of Mary Shelley goes like this. She was born in a normal family. Her father was a writer and mother was a writer. Her mother died while giving birth to her. So she was raised by her father, her stepmother, and her sister, Claire. So while Mary Shelley was 16 years old, she happened to meet Percy Shelley. She fell in love. And Percy Shelley at that time was already married. But despite all the uh, sus- uh, despite everything that was happening around her, her family was really strict and she had to follow certain living conditions. She decided to just run away with Percy Shelley, even after knowing that he was married. So they created a scandal, they ran away, and she was living with Percy Shelley while she was 16 years old. And at 17, she gave birth to a child. The child died after a few days, premature death. The life wasn't happy. Percy Shelley was one of the most famous romantic poets, and his all his poetries were really positive. It inspired a sense of fulfillment in those who were reading it, but his life wasn't happy one. He was young while he was married to, while he was living with, not married to, they didn't believe in marriages. Taking the time, okay, okay. So they didn't believe in marriages. They just wanted to live life happily, unconditionally, without any bondages. And they gave birth to a child. The child died after a few days. And then their life was going on a mystery note. Mary Shelley was suffering from some sort of depression. She was feeling lost in the world. Her parents avoided her. They abandoned her. Her husband didn't exactly mind her. Nobody was there for Mary Shelley. And it was into this scene that Lord Byron is coming. Lord Byron is some sort of an eccentric man. If you are familiar with Ernest Hemingway, it's same character. Lord Byron was drunk all the time and he was all into writing. He never cared about people. So Lord Byron, Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, and Claire, and a physicist, I forgot his name, they were all sitting inside Lord Byron's mansion. It was a vacation and they decided to spend it with them, like with all their best friends. And Lord Byron puts forward a contest to make things more interesting. He was always about making stuff interesting. And the contest was whom among them could write a horror story. But then that night ended on a drunken note. People went on their own ways. That contest was there. Mary Shelley took it a bit more seriously. And Mary Shelley took it a bit more seriously. After a few days, she is already having depression. Okay. After a few days, she was having in her own terms, a waking dream. As in, Mary Shelley was just lying there, but she wasn't exactly asleep. So she was having a dream in which she gives birth to a child that doesn't come out of her. So the child is a motherless child, a waking dream and a motherless child. And then it occurred to her, Mary Shelley was always into horror stories, and this formed an idea inside her head. She just wrote something, and that was the beginning of Frankenstein or the modern Prometheus. I'll tell you about the story of Frankenstein so you'll understand the part about the motherless child. And this, written by the 18-year-old girl, became world's debut science fiction. Nobody had written anything like that before. And the publishing part of it is the best because when Mary Shelley took it to the publishers never believed that an 18-year-old girl wrote it. So they never agreed to publish it. And they everyone knew about Percy Shelley, but they never believed that this little girl could write something like this. So even when the publishers agreed to publish it, on a condition that the introduction should be written by her husband and that her name should appear nowhere in the book. She agreed to it. She published the book. The first copies, the first publisher released around 500 copies. It got sold. And then it was only after the first edition that her name was released along with the book. And yeah, it became Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or the modern day Prometheus. And till 1910 to 2020, more than 100 movies has been inspired from Frankenstein, which was written by an 18-year-old girl who was having a lot of personal issues. It wasn't a happy note. The book was never came from a happy thought or a happy existence. It came out of pure misery. But Frankenstein has changed world literature forever. Yeah. So the story of Frankenstein. Okay. I'm just dividing it into three parts. A brief summary, so you'll be able to enjoy it more when you read it. So it's a meta narrative. A person is telling the story of Frankenstein to his sister. And before all that, Frankenstein is not the monster. Frankenstein is the mad scientist who created the monster. Victor Frankenstein, and the monster doesn't have a name. So it goes like this. Victor Frankenstein is telling his own story to another person who is sharing it with his sister. That's the story. And the story starts with Victor Frankenstein's journey to create something for himself. So this person, Victor Frankenstein, this young man who was born and brought up in Geneva, was born in an elite family. He had really good living conditions. He was almost engaged to his cousin. His parents were in a really good position. He had best friends and he had a younger. His life was perfect and peaceful. But there is a sense inside Victor Frankenstein uh, that he hasn't fulfilled something, and that led him to he went for higher studies, and from there he got the idea that he should create something. And ambition in man, he wanted to be God. He just wanted to create something. He wanted to create life. He wanted to give meaningful uh, give meaningful life and death. Hence he decided to create a living form, and he had all the theories of it. For that, he copied the theory of Galvanism in a way, and he robbed. So as the story goes, Victor Frankenstein, this young man, robbed slaughterhouses and cemeteries, using dead parts together, and then he animated it with a spark of being. It was a story, as in he tried to create a life, and in the process, he almost died because he was not eating, he wasn't sleeping, he was so exhausted and tired with the process. But however, he created life. He gave life to his form. But the moment his form gets life, he's scared of his own creation. He abandons it. He runs away. And the creation becomes a motherless creation because the creator abandoned it. And yeah, scared of his invention, he abandons the motherless creature. So that's there. Now it's the journey of Frankenstein. So after a few days, uh, Victor Frankenstein has met. So a friend of Victor Frankenstein comes to see him, and he says a tragic note that his younger brother died. A younger brother who was a child died, and the death, there was strangle marks on his neck. So he goes home, and then from his own home, he meets with Frankenstein on the top of a mountain. And Frankenstein tells him he killed his younger brother. And it's a story of Frankenstein. So, this monster that he created, he had no mother. He was abandoned in the world. He had nobody for him. And he wanted to belong to a world, the monster of Frankenstein. But wherever he went, people chased him away. Nobody included included him in the crowd. He tried his best, and the life that he was living, made him the monster. He wanted to exact revenge on his creator, and that's why he killed his brother. So the monster of Frankenstein is asking for a partner so that he can live in peace to his creator, but the creator just says no to it. And then the monster says that I'll have revenge on you. I'll kill everyone that's close to you, so you will feel abandonment, the misery of abandonment. And the monster of Frankenstein kills everyone close to Frankenstein. I mean, Victor Frankenstein. Starts with his younger brother, then his best friend, and then his wife on the day of Victor Frankenstein's marriage. Even in that time frame, Victor Frankenstein lives in an asylum because he goes crazy because of his own creation. Okay? And the third part, Victor Frankenstein vows to take revenge on the creation that he created. And he leaves everything that he has, his family, everything, whatever was remaining of his family, whatever was remaining of his life, he leaves it. And this man decides to take revenge on his creation for making him feel that. As a result, Victor Frankenstein spends his whole life, not whole life, whatever was remaining of him, he goes weak. He becomes a really old man in the chase of the monster that he created. And in the process, he dies. He dies while telling the story to the person whom I mentioned in the beginning, was telling the story to his sister. So that's the circle of Frankenstein. A person creates a monster, the monster exacts revenge on the creator because of abandoning him, and the creator is going for revenge. It's a full circle. The creator is going on revenge with the creation is going on revenge, going for revenge with the creator, and the creator dies. The creation is left alone. It's a creation without the creator. Okay. Now, the final part of it, the readings. So, yeah, that was the story of Frankenstein. I'm giving my own reading. So, if you have come across Nietzsche, Nietzsche was a German philosopher. There are many theories, okay? So, yeah, I'll start with the first one. Uh, God and man. God created man. God created man in a way. If you have read My Name is Red, it says in that book, like, why God created man, because he wanted to be proud of his own skills. God created man, but then he abandoned him. Exactly what happened with Frankenstein. He abandoned him because scared of his own creation. And then man is, once again, and then man is corrupted by the world around him. So I mentioned about Rousseau in the past. Rousseau was one of the leading philosophers of French Revolution, and there is this theory in the social contract, a quote by Rousseau, Man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. So if you go on to lengthen it, man is born free, but he is corrupted by the world around him. Frankenstein was born as a simple man. Frankenstein was born as a simple monster who wanted to live a happy life. But then the society around him never included him. So he was trying to exact his revenge on the world around him. Similarly, a man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. A man is corrupted by the world around him. He wreaks havoc on the world around him, and then God tries to punish man. So, in a way, God was exacting his own revenge on man. But then I connected it with Nietzsche's idea God is dead. God dies in the process. So you can see that Victor Frankenstein dies trying to kill his own creation. Just think of a world in which God is dead. Nietzsche's political philosophy of God is dead essentially means that man is dead too. Whatever the morality is left in man, that's dead too. The merits in man, everything is dead. So God is dead is essentially saying that man is dead. I'm saying this because it was the same time frame in England where urbanization, industrialization, everything was happening. It was starting up. So in a way, the morality that was left in man, it was slowly dying. So yeah, on the if romanticism is a circle that's all on positivity note, Frankenstein stands in the center of it as a dark and broody story. And there is another story. So right after she was done, she gave the story to her husband, Percy Shelley. And Percy Shelley, after reading it, asked his wife, uh, "Why can't man create an angel? Why does he have to create a monster?" So if he was creating an angel, he could talk about the endless possibilities of mankind. But then Mary Shelley replies, "Is life all positive and happy?" Because Frankenstein was born from a deep sense of remorse and guilt and regret and loss. And the second part, so if you have read Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, there is the idea that Alchemist and Hippie by Paulo Coelho, you'll see the resemblance in all his characters by Paulo Coelho. In a way, I often say that if you want to know a story, read a book, but if you want to know a story better, read the author. So every story is the author expressing his own alter ego. Every single story. Similar, Paulo Coelho expresses his alter ego in the sense of Santiago an alchemist, a man who is in search of gold, a treasure. If you read Hippie, you'll find Paulo Coelho's life is exactly the same. He was in search of a treasure, he has lived in an asylum, he has went crazy, and then his book, it was finally a success. So Mary Shelley and her alter ego, a woman who was lost, who was abandoned in the world, who had no purpose to live. It was her sense of loss that was the monstrous rage of Frankenstein. The anger of Frankenstein, which wanted to have revenge with the whole world around her, it was Mary Shelley's anger with the world. It is even said that someone, Percy Shelley, who wrote all poems on romanticism, he inspired the character. He inspired the character who made the monster of Frankenstein. So it was Mary Shelley's alter ego that was Frankenstein, and the monster that created Frankenstein was Percy Shelley, her own husband. So yeah, actually that's it. It ends there.
Thank you, Nizam. Thank you so much. It was really one.
And since it's a positive platform, I should end on a positive note. If Mary Shelley didn't run away with Percy Shelley, if she was living her whole life in a comfort zone, if she was living her life being happy, she would never have written something like Frankenstein, and that wouldn't have changed the course of world literature. So this woman explored the unknown around her, and she gave birth to something entirely different. So yeah, the positive note. That's it.
Thank you so much, Nizam. It was really wonderful. And the story of Frankenstein, you narrated it really well, and you were on a great flow. And the PPT presentations that you presented made the story very crisp and clear to everyone over here. And the way how you connected that with Santiago and Alchemist, that was mind blowing. I guess everyone truly enjoyed the story of a Frankenstein over here. I've seen a couple of chats from our regular eBookery participants. One was from Anita Isaac. Uh, is Anita here? Hi, Anita.
Hello.
Hello. Can I have Anita here?
I cannot find Anita.
All right. And
Yeah.
we
Can
had a
I?
Sindhu. We had a
Yes,
Sindhu Balagopal. This story reminded an invisible man of H.G. Wells for her. Sindhu ma'am, are you here? Can you please unmute
Ah,
yourself?
yes, 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 yes. Good evening, all.
Good
good
evening,
evening.
ma'am.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Very much.
loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Ah,
Yes,
Very
yes.
yes.
much, ma'am.
Yes, this very much reminds me of The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. I have actually taught this Invisible Man for class 12 for so many years. And then this is also a story where a human being uses science for selfish needs. And that is the same way Frankenstein also. It can be science can be used for good as well as bad. So both these Invisible Man and Frankenstein, I think they have used it for mm, very bad reasons or selfish reasons of their own. I think so. And Nizam's book review, it is very, very nice, wonderful review. Thank you, Nizam. Great going.
Welcome.
Thank you, Sindhu ma'am.
Thank you. Thank
Ankit,
you.
how did you connect the story?
Wow, I'm mesmerized as the way he narrated the entire flow. So Nizam, wonderful presentation. The way you know brought up the background of the author and the circumstances in which the book was written. That background probably not many would have. So it's really wonderful. You connected all the dots and put it across as a story. So kudos to you and sir, what better gift from a son on on Teachers Day to you. So thank you, Nizam, and thank you, team, for having him on show. Thank you.
I
Yes,
think.
Ankit,
I
you
think.
rightly said it's a wonderful gift anybody can give to, a teacher and a father, say the Harris. Nizam, you did the right gift to him. Is Jesse Hisham here?
Yeah. Yeah. Jesse is here. Yeah.
Hi,
Yes, yeah,
Jesse.
I am
Good
here.
evening.
I'm here. Good evening. Good evening. How are you all?
All
Good.
good, all good.
Yeah, Nizam, you killed it. Seriously. I think this is the book I read in 8th standard or something. And when I saw that brochure, I was thinking, okay, I mean, this is a platform full of positivity. And what is he going to say about Frankenstein in this platform? And he began the note on that. See, this is an era where everything is positive, and I want to speak about this. Then it was really nice to hear you speak about the background of the story and how he connected everything to the different eras of literature, romanticism, magical realism, and everything. It is beautiful, Nizam. I mean, I'm really glad that I'm here today to listen to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse. With the last reviewer, we shall go to the next speaker, Said Harris.
We should hear from Harris, sir.
Yes. Can you please unmute yourself from there?
Yeah, can you hear?
Yes,
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah. So, mashallah, I'm very proud because he did it. And today I was asking Anil sir that did you do any prep call with him? And I asked him also. He told me no one called me. And Anil sir thought that I would have talked to him, but I never did. So there was no interruption. I told him 20 minutes, nothing else. So that's great because I knew that he could have done that, his choice. And I like the way he presented it very much because he told me, had given me a thread before he when chose his book. I didn't ask anything, no instructions. And here in his school days also, it was like that. I've never interfered in his studies. He was into his own, nothing. Sometimes we are good fighters for each other. of tastes, because my taste is totally different. And so that's great. He did it. The positive note, that was a right thing, because that I was looking for that note. And nothing to say about more about that, because I'm not into much into literature as he is, because he is much into literature. I know that he writes too. So very good. And I find myself that there is a great challenge in the house. A competition is going on. So,
Thank you,
thank you.
Hariska. That was the best advice that you could give to him, 20 minutes, because we knew that one you could not confine yourself in 20 minutes whenever we gave a chance to you. All right. With this, I would like to move on to the next speaker. So I would like to call upon Anil Thomas sir once again here to introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Said Nizam. As rightly you said, Franklin Roosevelt has said once, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. Thank you for that positive note at the end. Now I have the pleasure in introducing my second speaker, one of the busiest person I have ever interacted with, Fiona Campbell. Fiona Campbell is an NLP practitioner, leadership development coach, professional growth coach, clinical hypnotherapist, and NLP business trainer, former business development manager, Xerox Emirates. Fiona going to introduce her own book, Fast Tracking Your Leading, Coaching, and Influencing Skills. Welcome, Fiona, on board of eBookery. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have set my timer, so I'll keep to my 20-minute slot. Thank you very much, Neil, and for everyone to inviting me here. Just want to say, nice, fantastic. That was absolutely superb. Great book, and it was a great, you really got the sort of depth of the book. But also you said something that was interesting about, to get to know a book, you need to know the author. Because it's true that authors, people who write, they're writing about their own scenarios. And also, Naya, as you said earlier when you were introducing, talk about passion. Passion and lifelong learning is, well, it keeps you young, number one, so I'll go with that one. But also, this is the reason that I put this ebook together. I've got a range of ebooks, but I wanted to share this particular one with you today. And this is Fast Tracking Your Leading, Coaching, and Influencing Skills. I work with NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And NLP is the methodology of how we create behavior. So when we're working with NLP, I was very, very fortunate in that I was introduced to my first NLP book. So I'm going to mention a few books as we go on here. I'll make sure I send them all to Anil so he can send them out. Frogs into Princes, Dr. Richard Bandler and John Grinder. And that was the first book I read in 1987 that introduced me to this whole philosophy, this whole way of thinking, this whole methodology of a subject called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which allows you to break down behavior. I also highly recommend, I'm going to take you through a couple of things in my book in a moment, but I highly recommend another book, which is Get the Life You Want, which is one of the latest books by Dr. Richard Bandler. And I was very, very fortunate to be on Bandler's assisting team in London for 8 years. And I have been training people in NLP for business and for coaching since 2005. So the Fast Tracking, Leading and Coaching Your Influencing Skills, what I wanted to put together in this book is 9 action steps for things that you can do for yourself and that you can do for other people. Because we now know, especially in the world of business, coaching is the most influential way to get people motivated. When you say to someone, if it's someone, for example, someone sets a goal and you say to someone, so, okay, so you've said that you're going to do that, and they go, yep. That person has not connected with their goal. That person has just given you loads of excuses to be able to go, oh, sorry, I didn't quite understand what you said. I didn't quite realize it was that you meant. Oh, you meant it that time? The moment you get someone to speak from their inside world, you're getting that person to say, to basically to take personal responsibility. You're getting the evidence. So when you're coaching someone, what you're saying to someone is, okay, you've said you're going to get that. How are you going to do it? And then you zip it. So what I'd like to show you from this book, I'd like to show you just for you to experience a few of the techniques. First of all, we have the inside and outside world. And for this is my definition. It's not a neuroscientific definition. My definition is the inside world is everything that sits inside your skin. That's where your inside world lives. That's where you have your feelings. That's where you have your thoughts, your disappointments, your emotions, your dreams, your aspirations, your knowledge, your wisdom. That all lives in the inside world. And then we have the outside world. And the outside world is everything outside your skin. Today, you've talked about International Teachers' Day. Good teachers teach from outside their inside world. I'll say that again. Good teachers are able to step out of their inside world and they go into the inside world of other people. That's how you help instill passion in someone. If someone's just talking about their experience and they're doing this from their perspective, first of all, it's ego. But secondly, people are not really connecting with you. But when you step out of your world, step out of your inside world, and then really try to understand the inside world of someone else, that's when you're really connecting with someone. So one of the things I like to say to people, I like to say to yourself, I am the center of my world. I want you to say that now. I want those of you in camera, I want to see you do it. I am the center of my world. Let me see you doing it. I'm the center of my world. I don't just talk. I like to get people involved to do this. I am the center of my world. I'm the center of my, no, you're not. I'm the center of my world. I'm the center of my world. It's understanding we're all the center of our own world. But when you're wanting to coach, when you're wanting to instill motivation, when you're wanting to instill passion, you have to make other people the center of your world. You've got to come out of your inside world. And let's just do this as well. I want you to do this and close your eyes. Close one eye and just look through another eye and start looking around the room. Start looking around your room. When you take your hand away, the room's still there. But when you were looking through this part here and started looking around, you were only seeing one tiny perspective of that room. Am I correct? Okay. That is what is known as our model of the world. We all have our own individual perspective of the world. Now, lots of people say, yeah, of course I understand everyone has their own perspective. And then they want to argue with people to say they're wrong. When you understand we all have our own perspective, nobody is wrong. People might not have the same values as you, but nobody's wrong because everyone is right according to their perspective in their world. One of the things we talk about with the Neuro-Linguistic Program, we talk about an attitude of curiosity. So someone who works with the principle of NLP really gets, if someone's saying something you really don't agree with, the whole point is to become curious, to find out what is making them have that opinion. Why have you got that opinion? I'm really curious to know why you've got that opinion. And the more you become curious, the more you start to realize you can understand lots of people's different opinions. In business and in life, all conflicts are caused through one person saying I'm right and the other person saying I'm right. And they do that. When you understand that we all have our own perspective and you start to really, really drill down to find out, someone might be seeing something in a way that could really help you open your eyes about things. Or you might say, right, okay, that their values are so different from mine. I would never have that perspective, but I respect it. I respect because we all have to have the respect to come up with their own opinions. If we didn't have, we wouldn't learn. Also, the brain, your brain is absolutely compelled to answer anything that you tell it. Do you know that? Anything you say to your brain is compelled to answer you. Now, the brain doesn't know the difference. I'm just checking my timing here. The brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. I'm not talking about your mind. Scientists don't know where the mind is, but we know the brain acts exactly, it doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. This is why people can be going through trauma for something that happened 20 years ago, today in the comfort of their sitting room. Let me demonstrate this to you. I want you to imagine I have a lemon, a beautiful, juicy lemon in my hand, lovely lemon. And I'm going to cut that lemon. I'm going to cut the lemon. And I'm going to take that lemon, and I'm going to squeeze that lemon. I'm seeing some faces. I'm squeezing that lemon juice. I'm not in the same country or the same continent as a lot of you. And people are going like that because they're imagining taking lemon juice. So that's a demonstration that the mind doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So let me just teach you, because I always like to teach something. Let me teach you a technique that I use, that we use this particular scenario of the brain, your brain being completely compelled. So what I'd like you to do, I want you to imagine a problem you have. And this is, let me see, this is action step 4 from the book. I want you to imagine a problem you have. And I want you to ask yourself, why is that a problem? And just come up with 3 reasons why it's a problem. So you ask yourself, so you think of it's a problem, and then you say to yourself, okay, why is that a problem? Now your brain will answer because. It'll go because of this, because of that, because of that. Okay, so give me a nod or a thumbs up when you've got the three answers. So yeah, thumbs up. Okay, because the minute you ask the word why, your brain will start give you the motivations and the reason. Can you go to www.problem.com and buy 10 kilos of problem? No, problems don't exist. Problem is merely a perspective, okay? When I worked with it, I'm going to give you the second part of this in a moment, but I just want to bring this little example in. I was the youngest air traffic control assistant in the UK. When I was 17, I was an air traffic control assistant. Now, aircraft, they fly at altitude. And on every single runway, there is what's known as an instrument landing system. And you will hear, those of it, you know, when you fly, you're flying, then ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts, we're coming in for landing. Okay, and everyone, the plane starts to come down. And then you will hear, a few moments before you land, cabin crew, seats for landing. So at that point, what is happening is the plane is coming in at its angle of approach. So the angle of descent is always known as its angle of approach. That angle of approach in air traffic is called the attitude. So it's understanding that when you change your attitude or change your angle of approach, you can get a totally different perspective on a situation. So let me give you the second part of this exercise. I want you to go back to that same situation that you had, and this time ask yourself, what has to happen to resolve this? And come up with 5 things. So you're asking yourself, okay, what has to happen to resolve this? And if you get stuck, just ask yourself, and what else? And what else? Now, one of the things you could do is, well, I don't have to do it. I don't have to do this. Or I can delegate it to someone else. Or I can maybe break it down. I don't know. Come up with 5 things. As soon as you've got 5 things, put the thumbs up sign again. Let's see your thumbs up or a nod. So I just want you to spend a few moments. Okay. Okay, we're getting, that's 1 thumbs up so far. And I'm watching, those of you who've got cameras on, I'm watching your eyes moving up and moving to the side, moving down. That's what's known in NLP as a transderivational search, which means you're searching in your brain, you're thinking. Never interrupt someone when their eyes are moving about. You're absolutely thinking, okay? So who's got 5? Who's got 5 things? Yes? Okay, so I'm seeing, right, I'm seeing, Anik, you're going no. So ask yourself, what else? So what else? Just keep asking yourself, and what else? Make your brain think, make your brain search. And it can be the silliest solution. It doesn't have to. Look what Anik's doing with his eyes. His eyes are really searching now, which is fantastic. You just keep asking yourself, and I love it. Someone said he started his brain gym. That's what it's all about. Yeah. So what we're doing, when you're able to say to yourself, what needs to happen to resolve this situation, you have changed a few things. Number 1, you've dropped the word why. So you won't get a reason or motivation from your brain. Number 2, you've changed the word problem to situation. And number 3, you've set your brain in action by saying what needs to happen or what has to happen. You're also doing a 4th thing, which is very, very important. You're not asking yourself, and I just want to check with Annie, because I know you were saying, no, you did. Were you saying to yourself, what do I have to do? Because that's not the question you were asked to do. The question I asked you was, what needs to happen? And when you say what needs to happen, you're disassociating yourself. In other words, you're actually removing yourself from the center of the solution. So it may be, well, I have to talk to somebody about it. I have to ask my manager. I have to ask my wife. I have to ask my kids. So and this is where just the words that you use, because remember, neuro is the nervous system, then linguistic, and then we have programming. So how you're talking to yourself has a huge influence on how you work. So in that, so if you want to put in the chat box, if you found that useful, just put a yes, because if you found that was useful, you can use this. I have used this with companies, and we have changed companies from a problem culture to a solution culture within a few months. Because what happens and you can do this with your kids. If someone comes to you and says, I've got a problem, now watch my physiology, watch what's happening. So I say, someone says you got a problem, oh, what's your problem? I have gone into that person's problem. I have made that real for that person. Okay, someone comes to me and says, I have a problem. I go, okay, what's the situation? Tell me about the situation. I have kept very neutral, and I've not made it into a big problem, which means we can get the solution much quicker. You're using your state, you're using your voice tone, you're using your physiology to stay very neutral and very positive, because I know this is a very positive platform you have here. And positivity comes from words, positivity comes from how you're holding yourself. So when you say to someone, what has to happen, you're doing that, you're putting it back to them, and you'll see them going, and then they'll go, I don't know. And you can say, if you did know, what would happen? That's a sneaky one. So if you did know, what would happen? Well, and people actually come back and say, well, if I did know, and they start to give you the answer as if it's not coming from them. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating when you play with the brain. But it's all about understanding for yourself. Your brain is completely compelled to answer whatever you ask it. So if you're telling yourself you got a problem, your brain's going to give you hundreds of reasons as to why this is really a problem. When you just shift and say what has to happen, then that changes. When you start doing this with the people you work with, when you start doing this with your children, you will find that very often children you'll start to see a change start to happen. They will come to you and say, I had a problem and I've got a couple of things I want to run by you. Because you've added a thinking step. So that instead of them coming and dumping what their perceived problem is on you, when you add that thinking step in there, it means they're much more likely to start thinking about the solutions. Now, it doesn't mean they've come up with the right solution. They may not have the knowledge, they may not have the information, they may not have the authority to go ahead with that. But what it does mean is they're much more likely to come to you with a solution or a possible choice of 2 or 3 solutions. So this book, now I've actually sent Anil, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I sent Anil a link just when I came on today. I had a look today and I made a decision. My book is available with a link, but I've actually sent Anil a code, and you can access with that code this book 100% discount for free for 1 week. Okay, so you sign up, you just put the code in it, and I'm happy for you to have that. But I put this together through everything that I had been learning through my life. I was very badly bullied in school. I was very badly bullied in work. And I made a decision once I learned about the whole world of taking control of your thoughts. I realized people bully people, not because they're meaning to do it. A lot of the time, they're doing it because they don't know any better. So my life's passion now, my whole journey in life is about teaching people to get the best out of other people. So it's really, it's not, people are very often, they're not doing things, and a lot of it, I'm not saying you don't have the bullies who intentionally bully, that happens, but very often, a lot of times, people are doing things and they are so in their inside world, they haven't got a clue of the impact they're making on other people. So this book and all the work I do is all about helping people come out of your inside world and build the empathy and connection with others to get the best for these people. Okay, so I believe we're nearly at 20 minutes. Is there anyone, yeah, just exactly 20 minutes. Is there any questions that anyone has before I finish?
Thank you, Fayana. It was really wonderful. And the topic NLP, we are all very interested, and it's a very, it's a topic which we all need to learn many things, because which is something which can influence our life a lot. And
okay, may I mention one other book?
Mm-hmm.
The Happy Brain. I don't know if you're seeing that mirrored. The Happy Brain by Kay Cook. This book, it's Kaycooke. I'll put it in the chat. Kay has put this book together for working with NLP for children to help supercharge your child's drive. So this book has been put specifically for using NLP skills for children. So I will put that into the chat box for you, yeah?
Thank you very much, Fayana. I would like to welcome Jayashree to comment on this particular presentation that we had. Is Jayashree in? Jayashree Rajendran?
Hi, Nias.
Hi, Jayashree.
Yeah, I'm here. If you can allow me to talk without video, I'm available.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Fayana. That was a wonderful review you have given today. And I'm fond of NLP. And the last book you have mentioned about the Happy Brain is the highlight here, because I work with children also and using the NLP, and this book I have not come across. So I think the first thing I will do is to read this book only, the last book which you mentioned.
This was actually published just a few months ago. It came out just at lockdown. So it's on Amazon. And it has a foreword by Dr. Richard Bandler, because Kay and I were both on the assisting team with Dr. Bandler for 8 years. So we work, and I've actually done a lot of NLP training in Bangalore.
Okay.
Yes. But that's awesome. Fabulous. NLP for children. Get the word out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I was following only Judy's book. Judy, I think she has written some for NLP for kids and teens, but I think this book, the title itself it's a kind of, captivating. So first thing I'll do is go and read. And regarding this fast tracking your leading, coaching, and influencing skills, I think you have just put in a very nutshell what is coaching, what is leadership, and how we influence through our minds, right? So I think
Yes.
you have just put in a very nice way. Whoever had not known what NLP is, I think they all have got some idea. So that way it's very crisp and clear.
Thank you.
And the example you have just explained, I think you made everybody to start processing. And I could see in the video when you were seeing about the IQs, I could relate, what everybody was doing, yeah, whether they're remembering or they are, creating it. So it was a very good session. Thank you so much, Fana. I look forward to
Thank
connect
you.
with you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jayashree, for
Thank
that
you.
wonderful
Yes.
review. I would like to go to Mr. Roy. Is Mr. Roy there? May I ask Mr. Roy to come on audio if it's possible? All right. Is Resina there? Hi, Resina. I guess we have these people over here. Anyhow, it was truly a wonderful session. Sanish, you quite enjoyed the session, and we could see from your
Yeah.
video that. How
I
did you
think
find
Razina,
that?
Niaz, Razina is unmuted.
Is it
Razina is
all
unmuted.
right? After Sanish, we'll go to Razina.
Yeah, it was truly an amazing section. She explained the whole concept of NLP in a very crisp and clear manner with a lot of examples so that people can relate to it, how we understand how we have our own perceptions to life and the things that happen around us, and how we should have a broader view about the things that that work around. And yeah, that's it. It was a great presentation, and I really loved it and enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you, Fiona.
Sanish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Razina. Razina.
I sent a prompt to Rosina. Rosina, you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
The technology sometimes, slows us.
I think we should ask Ankit again because he was the one who was thinking a lot.
Correct.
Yeah.
So a lot of, he was doing a brain gym. Ankit,
Yeah.
how was that brain gym?
Hi.
When she squeezed that lime, how did you find that?
It was not really tasty, and I was missing the water and salt.
And look at that. Where I mean, look in the distance. We're online, but yet we're
Okay.
still able to connect and go. It's fabulous.
So the world has become smaller in a way that Zoom has connected everyone probably across continents, across time zones. So gratitude to probably who's created Zoom. And Fiona, the one thing that I take away today was when you told to look around the room with one eye and then open up. So it's in a nutshell, it exactly tells you that how limited your singular individual viewpoint is. The world is much bigger than you, much larger, and it has a lot many things. So in Jainism, in my religion, it's always there's a term called anekantvad, so which says there is only one supreme truth, but there are many perspectives which are equally true. So when you put yourself in the other person's shoes and try to think things from his angle, so the famous one, whether the glass is half filled or half full, it's always good to know that you need perspectives, and that improves your life, and there would be no misery. I would say there would be no trouble at all if you're able to look at another perspective, another viewpoint, then you are always happy. And really thankful to you for bringing that out in a very simple and superb experiment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you so much. And we have a Taqiyuddin in our room. Taqi, may I call Taqi, please? Taqiyuddin.
I'm trying to unmute him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Taqiyuddin is one of our very strong volunteer who is an active member in a 5 a.m. club, who's been practicing 5 a.m. club for a long time now. Taqi, how did you find our NLP session? I would put it in a
Yeah,
better
it
way.
was fantastic. All the time I was thinking this one. Our brain don't know what we are saying because it is real or it is imaginary. That's why whenever we are watching some movies or reading some drama or something, we will start tearing up. That one, our tears will come shed. This is the thing. So we can utilize that one in a positive way. That I always imagine. So it is all about our mind. We can control. We can master it. So fantastic session, and you said all this, the thoughts, my mind also. So it was a nice one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saki, for being a wonderful audience over here. And I would like to ask any of our audience that if you have any question on NLP or the session that we just had, we have a right person with us, Fiona Campbell. We can use her to the best of, yeah. Or else hi, Ankit. Yes, Ankit.
How do you make this a habit? I'll just one question. How do you make this as a habit of continuously being in that zone to being apart from you and still getting things the way you want?
Well, you don't always get things the way you want. That's number one. And it's practice. I pay attention to what I'm saying to myself. One of the lessons I always ask all my students to do right at the beginning is get a pen, get a piece of paper, and write down for 10 minutes everything that's going on in your head. Now, we're talking about your self-talk, and people, when I say that, people say, I don't know, what does she mean? I don't know what you're talking about. That's what you write down. You actually take time to start realizing the soundtrack that you're running unconsciously for every single thing we do. And once you become aware of you're able to tune into your soundtrack, you can actually ask yourself, is this resourceful or not? Is what I'm saying to myself resourceful or not? And if it's not, change it. And sometimes it's not just change your self-talk. Sometimes I have to dance. Sometimes I have to exercise. Sometimes you've got to physically move. You've got to physically move as well. But also I ask, is it within my control? Is it in my inside world? Is it if it's outside of my control, there's nothing I can do about it. I can only change my attitude towards it. But it's a habit, and it becomes, even, when we had lockdown, everyone went into fear all over the globe. Nobody knew what was going to happen. We didn't know if we were all going to die. We really didn't at one stage. And that's when I was non-stop online with so many companies, so many people, helping people just get out of the panic and fear by saying, hang on, what's happening now? You're okay, you're safe at this point of time. So sometimes you've just got to be aware of what you're letting your brain run away with and stop it, because you can learn to control your thoughts. And the minute you can, sorry?
Is there a simple exercise that probably you can suggest to everyone here?
Stop. You you don't shout it out loud. You actually get into the habit of saying into yourself, first of all, you've got to be able to listen to your self-talk. And then you've got to get into the habit of going, stop, really loud, but not shouting it, loud inside your head. Now, the minute you say stop, your brain will stop for a split second. It will stop. I'm going to give you another technique in a moment. Your brain will stop for a split second. You must then put something in. And the quickest way to do is stop, breathe. And sometimes just that breathing's enough. Also, your tongue, do it now. You can do it. Those of you who want to try this out, never take my word for anything. Always practice it yourself. If you're finding you can't shut down your self-talk, you press your tongue against the back of your teeth, but you do it in a way that you can practice it so you can close your mouth so no one sees what you're doing. And that shuts down your self-talk. Okay? So it's practice. It's awareness and practice. And really becoming aware, what are the things you're saying to yourself? What are you saying to yourself? And asking yourself, is this resourceful or not? And if it's not resourceful, change it. And start being good to yourself. Speak to yourself in a nice tone of voice. Speak to yourself with a smile.
Thank
for the
you.
kind
Thank you,
words.
Fayana,
We
for that hack.
actually criticize ourselves in ways, me included. I've had to change it. I've still got to change it. It doesn't come naturally. I still do it constantly. But if we take the tone of voice and what we are saying and say it to our best friend, they'd be horrified. But yet we're doing it to ourselves. Okay.
Thank you, Fayana, for
I
that
think
wonderful.
Zenha would like to ask a question.
Okay.
Yes, we'll go to Zenha.
Hello, Zenha.
Zana, that's her name, I believe.
Zena, sorry, Zena.
Zenha, okay, sorry. You're muted.
Yes, Zana, you can unmute yourself and you can,
Okay.
speak.
Okay, you're muted at the moment. If you want to unmute. We've got a new,
Hello,
there we go.
hello, Mrs. Campbell.
Hello, I'm Fiona. Just call me Fiona.
Okay, Fiona, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm really sad because I couldn't join first and I couldn't see your session, but I joined at the last, I think, and I truly enjoyed that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. And my question for you is, I love to read a lot, and I especially like fiction and fantasy. So it's my age. So can you suggest any books for me so I could read that?
Fictional fantasy, I couldn't because that's not my area. But my area of expertise is very much on how you work with yourself. And the books, I've actually put a book in the chat box, which is Dr. Richard Bandler, Get the Life You Want. I tend to work with factual books, not fictional fantasy. So I'm not your expert with that, but that's cool because this is the forum to find out. There's plenty of other people who will be able to recommend a book for you on that. But I love the fact that you love to read. I have spent all my life reading, and I think reading is so valuable because it actually stimulates so many parts of the brain that doesn't happen when we're just watching onto screen. So great.
Yeah.
Have you got anything else you want to ask?
No, thank you.
Okay,
thank you very
Zana.
much for
Thank you,
answering.
Zana, for the question. Thank you, Fayana. Definitely, Zana, we would help you out with your question.
Yes.
Now, I would like to welcome Nizan Haris over here to say a few words on our e-bookery and how did you find the presentation of Fayana Campbell?
Okay, so thank you for that. And okay, right before that, I would just answer. Yeah, I'm sorry. So right before that, I'll answer that last question. Okay, the fiction one. You can start with Alice in Wonderland, the Wizard of Oz. It's like two books for children and adults. Like it's too vague and it has inspired a billion journeys. Start with Alice in Wonderland, and even in the future, you might come across it if you're going to literature. So yeah. So just two books. If you want to know further, just text me and I'll give you a whole list of books. And most of them are tragic. Okay, so eBookery is it's a really good platform for people from different background to connect and talk on different things. Like, so the first time I came across it was when my dad was presenting on Tuesdays with Maury, and since then I've been following a few of your talks in here, and yeah, it's interesting, especially the fact that you're giving voice to people like me, people who hasn't exactly proven themselves, but you're giving voice to amateurs, and that's a big thing. So yeah, thank you for that. And ma'am, your presentation was pretty good because I'm not much into your field, but yeah, I found it interesting and I would like to know more about it. So I have plans to go into NLP. I want to take a class on it. And so I'm not a pro to make any comment on it. So once I learn, I'll be able to say actually.
Well, you're an expert on behavior because you do behavior and everyone around you does behavior. So all the NLP does is it makes you conscious of everything that's happening automatically. So we're all experts at NLP, whether we know it or not. But once you get to know the different topics in there, then you start to realize you've got labels to put on. Oh, that's how I'm doing that, and that's how I'm doing that. Okay, but I'm glad I planted the seed.
Thank you. Thank you, Nizam, for being over here. And we would like to see you every week here on a Friday and Saturday for our Bookery Malayalam and English. Once again, thanks a lot. And we would like to move on to Fiona Campbell to say a few words on story of Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, I liked the way that Nizam you presented this. It's a book that scared the living daylights out of me when I read it. And you were able to really get to the essence of it. And what I loved about it is the fact you brought about Mary Shelley and that she was a young girl. And nobody could believe that this young girl had come up with this incredible world that was very much well ahead of its time. Very much ahead of its time. That particular book in the UK gets mentioned a lot with a lot of some of the research that's going on with artificial intelligence. So it's very linked to you were able to really sort of not only talk about the book, but I loved the way you really spoke about the fact it was Mary Shelley's way of maybe coming up with the trauma that she went through, but doing it in such a way that was very, very, very mature, and at a time, sort of at the time when women didn't even have the vote in the UK, women didn't have a voice. So she was able to come out with this incredible, I mean, it's a masterpiece. And it has influenced, if you go into so many different films, so many different plays, all come from the basis of that particular book. So well done. You did that very well.
Thank you, Fiona, for that encouraging words to a young Nizam.
Yeah.
With this, I would like to move on to Santosh D'Souza. We call him Santa, we call him Shanti, and